this video, we're going to show you how to properly adjust the length of your CO2 cap for your 12-gram cartridge. Now you have this adjustable CO2 cap, that you can adjust accordingly, depending on what kind of CO2 cartridge you're using. Some vary in length a little bit, anywhere from 10 thousandths to 30 thousandths difference in length. They can vary. And that will determine whether the TPX actually punctures the cartridge or not. So you want to make sure that you get a good puncture. That's why we have this upgrade available. So I'm first going to start off by taking our adjustable set screw and putting that in first. You can see that there's a difference between these set screws. It's kind of hard to tell. I'll just lay it back there. One has like a little nub on the end, and that's your locking set screw, and then this is your adjustable set screw for the CO2 cap. So we'll go ahead and take this one, and we'll start off by just threading it into the cap until it's flush with the face of the cap. Now this is where obviously the cap meets the back end of the CO2 cartridge. So you will just want to make sure that it's flush to our adjustable cap. Now, just for safety reasons, you want to make sure that when you're adjusting your CO2 cap that you put a barrel blocking device on there. Make sure it's cinched up real tight. And then we have 5 12-gram cartridges that we're just going to kind of find the right setting, the correct length for these cartridges. I'll show you how to do that. You're just going to start off, put your 12-gram in, and like I said, with that screw being flush, just go ahead and put that in. Now you'll notice that when you're and you're kind of just lightly pulling the trigger. You're not pulling the trigger as if you were to go fire at something, but you're just kind of just wiggling the trigger just a little bit just to see how much play it has. And you can see there's a lot of play. I can't even puncture this cartridge just by pulling the trigger. You can see how much play there is. That's just because the adjustable cap is all the way backed off, so there's a lot of play in between the puncture valve assembly and the cartridge. From there, you'll just want to take your 3/16 Allen wrench and just kind of adjust it in. And I adjust it as I'm kind of playing with the trigger a little bit, and you can feel that it starts to snug the trigger a little bit. You're not, like I said, you're not pulling the trigger to get it to puncture. You're just kind of feathering the trigger a little bit. And you can see the play just kind of disappears to where it almost, doesn't want to move at all. And that right there is telling you that your CO2 cartridge, it's butted up against the front of your puncture valve assembly. So if you're to pull the trigger really hard here, you can see there's a little bit of play, but if you were to pull it really hard, it'll puncture that cartridge. Now you don't want to do that because we're just trying to get it adjusted correctly for that particular cartridge that you're using. So what we're going to do is we're just going to, right there you have that little bit of play, and we're going to back it off about 1/4 of a turn. And you'll have a little bit of play. And then from there we'll just, we'll take our cap back off, set that cartridge off to the side, and we'll go on to the next cartridge. And if your set screw is not adjusted right and you were to put that cap on and you had to push really hard to turn it in, you could get a pre-puncture, and that's going to indicate that you have that set screw put in a little too far. So we'll just go ahead and that one fits just fine. So we'll pull that one back out and we'll move on to the next cartridge. And the reason that we're checking 5 cartridges is we're just going to do a real short run of the cartridges, because believe it or not, some of these cartridges can vary within a box. So you have like in most CO2 boxes, you have 25 cartridges. A run of 5 is usually a good test. So we've got that cartridge in there, locked it into place, and like I said, you're just kind of feathering that trigger. And it's about the same position it was with the first 2 cartridges. We'll just kind of continue with that just to check them. the same. Down to our last one here. And this also, that one's a little bit sloppier, and that's going to indicate that that particular cartridge is just a little bit shorter than the rest. So there's a little bit more play with that one, and it's okay. I mean, we have it adjusted for the longer ones. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll set this off to the side. Now that we have it adjusted where we want it, we have our locking set screw with a little pin on the end there. Once again, your 3/16 wrench, you're going to go ahead and turn that in until it locks down. And then once you feel it touch on the top of that screw, just kind of give it a little crank. You know, nothing too hard, but just, you know, make sure it's snug. And that'll keep your adjustment screw from backing out. So that's going to lock your adjustment screw in place. Now we'll go ahead and we'll recheck it just by putting our 12 gram in. Put our cap in. And then you got a puncture. So puncture that one perfectly. And that's how you install your new adjustable CO2 cap assembly.